There's a pain few can understand until they live it, the pain of being invisible in your own family. You gave everything. You sacrificed, worked, cared, and loved without condition. But now, when you speak, they barely listen. When you reach out, they look away. And the silence cuts deeper than any argument ever could. If that sounds like you stop blaming yourself, you're not weak. You're not forgotten. You've just reached a point where love must evolve. The old way, chasing respect, pleading for connection, trying to fix everything with words, it no longer works. Because respect doesn't come from demand. It comes from presence, from the quiet strength that refuses to beg for what it already deserves. This isn't about control. It's about reclaiming your peace, your dignity, and your authority, not through anger, but through calm awareness. When you change how you carry yourself, everything around you begins to shift. In this video, we'll uncover 7 powerful Stoic shifts that will help you find peace even when your children ignore, dismiss, or disrespect you. These are not tricks or tactics. They're truths, timeless, practical, and stronger than any argument. If you're ready to stop reacting and start leading with calm strength, stay until the end. Because once you learn to master these inner principles, you won't have to demand respect. It will start to return on its own. Let's begin. 1. Detach without disconnecting. The more you chase attention, the more it runs. That's true in love, in friendship, and especially in parenthood. When your children begin to pull away or ignore you, the instinct is to hold tighter, to remind, to correct, to insist. But this only feeds distance. Detachment isn't giving up. It's growing up. It's the art of loving without clinging, caring deeply without allowing your peace to depend on how others respond. You can love your children fully while staying emotionally steady. That steadiness is what they'll feel most. Not your words, not your frustration, but your energy. True detachment is strength in silence. You don't stop caring. You stop controlling. You let go of the belief that your worth depends on how they treat you. Because when you attach your peace to someone else's behavior, you hand them the power to hurt you every day. When you detach, you start to see clearly. You stop overreacting to every tone, every missed call, every small disrespect. You remain kind, but unshaken. That calmness changes the entire dynamic. And here's the paradox: once you stop trying to force connection, real connection begins to return. Because your children no longer feel your pressure, they start to feel your presence. Detachment isn't coldness. It's maturity, the ability to stay warm without burning out. 2. You don't need to be accepted to be respected. You can love your children deeply without needing their approval. Too many parents confuse acceptance with respect. They believe, if they understood me, they'd treat me better. But understanding isn't the foundation of respect. Integrity is. Respect begins when you stop chasing it, when you stop trying to be the version of yourself that pleases everyone, and start being the version that's grounded, calm, and self-assured. You don't earn respect by explaining yourself. You earn it by staying consistent, dignified, and steady, especially when ignored. Your children may not agree with your ways, but when they see you remain unwavering, something shifts inside them. They may not say it, but deep down, they begin to trust you again. Because trust is born from consistency, not compliance. So stop waiting to be accepted. Be whole as you are. When you stand quietly in your truth, you teach through example, not explanation. And in time, even those who dismissed you will begin to recognize your strength, not because you demanded it, but because you became it. 3. End the silence without noise. When your children pull away, your instinct might be to fill the silence with words, long talks, explanations, guilt reminders. But noise rarely brings connection. Silence, when used with intention, can. Instead of reacting with anger or sadness, practice quiet presence. Be there, but don't chase. When they speak, listen more than you answer. When you reach out, let it be from calm intention, not desperation. You don't need to be loud to be heard. You need to be centered. Your silence, when it's rooted in self-control and love, becomes magnetic. It tells your children, I'm still here, steady, peaceful, unbroken. Over time, they begin to feel the difference between noise that demands and silence that understands. The wise parent doesn't shout for attention. They embody peace, and peace has a gravity all its own. 4. Change the story. Change the relationship. The real problem often isn't what your children do. It's what you tell yourself about it. You start building painful stories. They don't care. I'm forgotten. I failed. But these are interpretations, not facts. Change the story, and you change your emotional life. Maybe their distance isn't rejection. Maybe it's confusion. Maybe their silence isn't hatred. Maybe it's fear. When you open the possibility of a kinder explanation, your heart softens. And when you soften, the energy between you changes. Instead of reacting, you begin to respond. Instead of arguing, you begin to understand. By mastering your inner dialogue, you stop being at the mercy of their actions. You regain authorship of your own peace. Because the truth is, no one's behavior defines your worth unless you let it. Rewrite the story. Replace blame with awareness. When your perception changes, the entire relationship begins to transform. 5. Release what you hope for. Hear what's really there. Most pain in relationships comes not from what's said, but from what we expected to hear. You may have built quiet dreams that they'd call more thank you, more love, you more. And when they don't, disappointment turns to resentment. But freedom begins the moment you let go of that imagined version of them and meet the real one standing before you. Stop listening through the filter of what you want to hear. Start listening to what is. Even silence has meaning. When you drop expectation, you make space for truth. And that truth, even if imperfect, is better than any illusion. Because only reality can be worked with. Let your children be human, flawed, distracted learning. Let them speak or stay silent without turning either into an attack. Your calm attention is more healing than your disappointment ever was. That's not weakness, it's wisdom. 6. Compassion over control. When people hurt us, we often react with frustration. But behind every harsh word, behind every cold silence, there's usually pain. Theirs, not yours. Compassion doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. It means seeing the fear, the confusion, the immaturity behind it without letting it rule you. When you replace judgment with understanding, you stop fighting shadows. You begin to see your children not as enemies, but as human beings still trying to find themselves. That shift alone can dissolve years of tension. You don't need to fix them. You only need to understand them calmly, quietly, without losing yourself. And paradoxically, the moment you stop trying to control them, you begin to influence them again. Because calmness commands what anger never can. 7. Serenity is your final answer. There's one victory no one can take from you: inner peace. You may not be able to change how your children behave, but you can always control how you respond. Serenity doesn't mean giving up, it means rising above. It's the discipline of refusing to let anyone else dictate your emotional state. It's the calm that says, I choose peace over reaction. When you embody serenity, your children feel it. They stop seeing you as someone who argues for attention and start feeling you as someone who radiates strength. And that presence, steady, silent, grounded, becomes the most powerful lesson you could ever teach. You can't force respect, but you can model it. You can't demand love, but you can become it. And in time, that becomes your quiet revolution, the kind that heals without words. You can't control how others act, not even your children. But you can control how you show up. That's where your real power begins. When you stop chasing attention and start living with calm dignity, everything shifts. Because people, even those who ignore you, feel energy before they hear words. And when your energy becomes peaceful, steady, and self-assured, they begin to respond differently. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually they will feel what words never could: your strength, your serenity, your silent love. So don't fight for their respect, embody it. Don't demand change, become it. If this message resonated with you, write below, I choose calm over chaos. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, each week we go deeper into self-mastery, emotional resilience, and the art of staying unshaken in a world that tests you. Because in the end, peace isn't found through others. It's built within.